Welcome to UNCAGED, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Jocelyn King. Hey, Jocelyn, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm very, very well. I'm excited to talk to you about what you guys are up to. Jocelyn is the CEO and co-founder of VirgilHR, which is a SaaS solution that empowers HR professionals to make smart, compliant employment decisions in real time. And we'll get into the story of VirgilHR, but before we get there, Jocelyn, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Sure. So I am from the DC area, almost never left, and started in HR pretty early on. It was recruited out of college by Target and started my career there. Loved HR, decided to get into recruiting. I wanted to get more well-rounded, moved into technology and went into the recruiting space and loved tech. So I've stayed in tech ever since and just moved my way up. I had some amazing mentors and bosses along the way who really helped shape my career. And most of my career was spent in the tech startup world. And that's where I saw a lot of change happen really quickly in organizations. And that change is really what drove me to start my own business, because that change creates a lot of challenges. It creates a lot of challenges for leaders and for HR departments, and so with that comes quite a bit of work when you start seeing high growth. And so I'm excited to talk more about that today.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about what you're doing at VirgilHR. So tell us a little bit about the story of the creation of VirgilHR and what you guys are working on right now.
Sure. So it all started when I was a director of HR for a high growth tech company. We were hiring a lot of people. And as we were growing, we were hiring in more states. And the second we started hiring in California, I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is a whole new world of crazy on the employment law side. California is incredibly complicated. And as we were moving into more states, I quickly learned as an HR professional just how complicated the employment and labor law landscape truly is. And I thought, there's got to be an automated way of doing this, because I was constantly having to do research on all the different legal requirements that we had to meet, and it was becoming incredibly burdensome, and there wasn't anything out there. So that's where the idea was born from. And I had some really amazing mentors who encouraged me to start my own company. So got a little more startups under my belt before I did that, but eventually did it. And so here we are.
Well, congratulations. And I tell you, it's a good process. You have a similar story that I do, which is that you had a career, you're an expert in a topic, you found an opportunity, and then you seized upon it and you've built it into something, which is spectacular. So tell me about like the pain points that the customers for VirgilHR are having and how you guys are tackling them.
Sure. So employers have to comply with thousands of ever-changing federal, state, and local employment and labor laws in the US. They change often, they supersede each other, they run concurrently. You have hundreds of new laws coming out every year, and it gets down to the local level, to the city and local level, and it becomes really confusing. What we have to do as HR practitioners is we have to follow the law that's going to be in the employee's greatest benefit in court, right? And we also have to follow the law that could go all the way down to the local level. And if the local level is a greater benefit than the state or federal level, then that's going to be the one that will generally apply. So it becomes very complicated. And so HR practitioners end up having to spend a ton of time doing research, Googling online. You get 14 million hits when you look up what maternity leave requirements are in California. And then you have to dig through those and figure out which is the most relevant, which is the newest. Does it cover everything that I need to know? Does it cover state? Does it cover local? Does it cover federal? You have to escalate to attorneys. It's very expensive. And then on top of all of that, if you haven't covered everything, then there's a risk issue involved. And so there's a significant cost for employers around litigation and settlement. So it
Yeah.
does get quite expensive too. And so there's quite a few pain points that employers and HR practitioners are facing. And that's what we're here to solve.
Yeah, no, I have lived through those pain points myself, so I know what you're talking about. In fact, actually, even today, I was reviewing a new policy, a new law change, I guess, in New York State, which is going
Mm,
to change how we do kind of some job postings. I think they have
yeah.
changed some laws related to job postings, and so fascinating and challenging, and certainly any type of system that makes that stuff easier for people is key. But man, I mean, you are living in a world which is discussed by every leader of every company right now, which is, this talent marketplace. All eyes are on HR as companies are trying to hold on to their best people, trying to find a way to recruit people. Tell me a little bit about the broader landscape that you're playing in right now, in terms of like what's happening with the HR customers, HR clients these days, and how are they dealing with some of these challenges? As far as I can see, there's a bit of a fire hose situation right now.
So in terms of what people are doing today,
Mhm.
there aren't a whole lot of options that are going
Mhm.
on at the moment. As I mentioned, a lot of what people are doing is research, or they're relying on attorneys,
Mhm.
or they might be using kind of curated websites like online standalone websites that act as digital libraries, for example, where they can actually go in and look up laws by states.
Yeah.
And that definitely helps filter out the research, but you're still doing the research and it's very manual and you have to know what you're looking for. There's a lot of room for error there. And it's still very time consuming. So there's nothing manual and there's nothing automated. And the neat thing about what we're doing is we're completely automating the process and we're taking away all that time that's being spent doing research. We've integrated directly into the HR information system, directly into that HR work environment, into their HR tech stack. And we monitor what end users are doing in their system. And then we tell them, based on what they're working on, what federal, state, and local laws apply
Yeah.
and what legal requirements they have to meet in order to be compliant with those applicable laws. So we completely streamline the process for them, and nobody's doing that today.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're, I guess these companies are trying to hire people pretty quickly. There's obviously good job market right now. Making sure you're compliant is going to be absolutely critical. So let me change gears a little bit, Jocelyn, and talk about the last couple of years, because you started this business actually in the middle of the pandemic, correct?
Mm, right.
Yeah. So tell me, what was it like to start a business in the middle of a pandemic, and what learnings are you seeing and applying to moving this business forward as you develop it?
Well, we started the business about a year ago. Most of what we were working on was the software development side. The actual product release has been quite new,
Hmm.
but I will say that actually starting it during the pandemic has been a little fortuitous in the sense that the pandemic has actually exacerbated a lot of the challenges that HR practitioners are facing
Yeah.
because we have so many remote employees now and we
Hmm.
have such a transient workforce that before, when you had 500 employees in DC working in your office, now they're scattered all over the mid-Atlantic, and you were before only having to comply with the DC, Maryland, and Virginia laws. You're now
Right.
complying with 12 different laws. It gets to be extremely complicated very, very quickly. And now you were before only hiring in the DC area. Now you're hiring nationwide. So from a recruitment perspective, that becomes much more challenging. But then obviously just from an employment relationship perspective, very challenging as well.
It's such a good point, because you can imagine that HR teams were already almost at the breaking point, just figuring out how to be compliant with the local law when everyone came into the own office. But now
Mhm.
with them spread out, you have to weigh up all of these different states and all the different regulations. My God, I'm just getting overwhelmed thinking about it. So Jocelyn, here we are in 2022. What does this year hold for you guys?
Hopefully we'll start seeing more growth on the customer acquisition side. As I mentioned, our product release is very new, and we have a set of future releases coming out that will be extensions of our product later this year, where I think we'll be able to offer more and more and more value to our customer base. So what I'd love to see is just greater expansion of our customer base this year. But in addition to that, I would also really love to be able to start providing greater value to those small and medium-sized businesses as well through some of the newer product releases that we will be introducing. So for example, in the fall, we're going to be introducing a wage and hour module where essentially what our product will be able to do is we will be able to provide compliance to job classification, minimum wage, final wages, onboarding requirements, offboarding requirements, meal and rest breaks, a little bit of payroll, and that provides tremendous value to the SMB space. Right now, we're very focused on leave, also very valuable to the SMB space, but incredibly valuable to enterprise. So I think that as we continue to grow, as our product grows, we'll see some more expansion on the customer side, and so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it sounds like this is the year to start building deeper relationships with the customers and finding new customers, which is exciting. And as far as I can see, the complexity of the marketplace demands the VirgilHR solution. Jocelyn, if someone wanted to contact you and learn more about what you're doing, what's the best place for them to reach you?
I think two places. They can either reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, or they can go to our website, which is www.virgilhr.com, and just submit a contact us or a demo request form, and we can get in touch with them very easily that way.
Excellent. Well, Jocelyn, thank you so much for being on UNCAGED today. We've been speaking with Jocelyn King. She is the CEO and co-founder of VirgilHR, a SaaS solution that empowers HR professionals to make smart, compliant employment decisions in real time. As far as I can see, the way I would be using VirgilHR is to help us figure out all of that complexity in terms of making sure you're compliant with all of the federal and state statutes and the changing employment marketplace. Jocelyn, thank you so much for being on the show today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.